In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Thanks for joining the Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI podcast. I've got a great guest today named Sami Bedell Mulhern. Is that right? Mulhern?
Bedell Mulhern. It's all good.
Oh, Mulhern, sorry. Yeah. It's a big hyphenated name there.
Hey, names are the worst part of podcasts.
It's true. So, Sami's super involved in marketing as an agency owner and manager, and I'll have you introduce yourself, Sami.
Yeah. My name is Sami. We work with small to medium-sized organizations, a lot of nonprofits, and really working on how do you have a website that converts, and then once you have those customers, how do you keep them, and how do we automate and kind of make that easier so that we can spend more time doing the things we're best at and know that we've got digital strategies that are keeping people in the loop and connected with us as we kind of keep going. That was not that eloquent, but that's what we do.
It's all right. Well, what are you hearing right now from the conversations you're having with clients and prospects about AI and how much they're able to integrate things right now on their own?
I mean, I think there's two pieces to that. I think the first is how do we use it, and not really understanding, how AI can kind of help streamline things. But B, just like the amount of different ways that AI shows up in our world, like just understanding, like, we're always pointing out, like, that's AI, that's AI, that's AI. And they're like, no, really? From photos to copy to like video, all of it. Like, I think it's wanting to learn more about it, but then also feeling very overwhelmed by it at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's it's like the big buzz right now, right? So everybody wants to be involved. They don't necessarily know how. I guess what are you seeing that your clients or that companies are doing, integrating on their own right now, not under your direction, but just what are they experimenting with?
My clients, I think what we're really trying to work with them on is just the repurposing. So not using AI to create new, but using AI to make a ton of other content from the content you're creating. So how can we save time, and we can, create our long form content and then use AI tools to like fix everything? Or how can we use AI tools to take our existing photography and allow us to use it in a way for whatever format we need versus the format that the photo exists? Like, there's so many cool things that you can do right now. How can we do cold outreach to our clients in a way that looks personal, or to potential clients and customers in a way that looks personal? So a lot of that is what we're kind of experimenting with. But I think it's that frustration with it showing up everywhere, and then you feel like you need to play with it wherever it is, versus like trying to find the tools that match with how you can best use those resources. I think that's what we're really trying to stay on top of, but also not stay on top of at the same time, like going with what we know is working and just kind of let it be, and not trying to go for the next best, greatest, new, flashy AI tool that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really hard, right? Especially being a marketing geek, you really want to like, I could do that now. Well, let's go chase that shiny object, right? Well, let's look at it from like a campaign perspective. Like what are some of the tools that you're using, for like big picture creation of like, say, a 90-day campaign, if any?
Yeah, so I'm always a proponent in general of starting with like the biggest piece. So whether that, if you're going into a campaign, like what is the biggest piece that you need, whether that's like a long form email, a blog post that's talking about it, like what is kind of the meatiest thing that you need in order to communicate the campaign that you're doing. And I personally like to write that myself. I don't like to necessarily use AI for that. because I think it needs to be in your brand voice. It needs to be talking to your audience. You know that best. And then if you want to pop it into AI to have it kind of help you with some ideas, that's fine. But I like to start with that meatiest piece first, and then we kind of reverse engineer the campaign. So what else do we need in order to launch that campaign? Well, we might need social media posts. We might need some video. We might need some email marketing campaign pieces. We might need some phone scripts or whatever, depends on what the campaign is, right? Once you have that meaty piece, you can take that and put it into AI and say, okay, I need you to write me 3 social media posts that I can use. I need you to write me some email subject lines. Now you've got your content that it's helping you write. So we love ChatGPT, obviously, is one that everybody uses. It's free. I think we're most familiar with that. So we love using that to kind of help craft some of those repurposed pieces. We're also loving a tool. It's not free and it's not necessarily the cheapest, but we're loving a tool called Content at Scale. So we use it to take like our existing podcast episodes and turn them into long form blog posts. So repurposing content in that way, because it has a whole bunch of SEO stuff built into it. We love using like Adobe's Photoshop AI tools to take an image that we need for like to create an image for like our maybe it's your website navigation, and then you need social media images, and then you need different graphics for different elements, because it has a great tool to like fill in the background and make it look like whatever it needs to for the size of what you need. So we're using AI for all of those things. But I just like to start with your big piece first, so that when you're using AI, it's still using your words, your voice, your content.
Yeah, and since this is authentic marketing in the age of AI, you touched on a really great point, right? Which is if you start with a fundamental piece and you hold that voice, then it's going to be on brand and on message. Are you working at all with building prompts that hold your client brand messaging? And talk a little bit about how you're working with that.
Yeah, I mean, the content you get out of AI is only as good as the content you give it, right? The thing that you feed it. So I think a lot of times when you start playing with it, you say things like, hey, write me a blog post about how to market to Gen Z or whatever, how to market tennis shoes or how to market skincare, right? And you're just giving it that basic stuff, and you're going to get some pretty basic content back. So I think really understanding your brand voice and really understanding who your target audience is critical, so that you can feed it prompts that are like, let's say you're launching a new skincare product, that you can say, hey, I need a social media post about a face lotion that is for sensitive skin for women that are 25 to 35. That's a little bit silly and fun, include emojis, and make sure that it speaks to anti-aging pain points, right? That's a lot of information, but if you give it that, you're going to get much better content back than if you just say, write me a social media post about face lotion. Like it's not going to give you anything that's really good.
Yeah, and especially now that you can direct the prompts to existing content online, right? You have another chance to grab some brand voice that way as well. So have you found that to be helpful also?
Well, and I think it's remembering to like depending on the platform, like having that conversation. So if you don't get what you want the first time, don't just start over. Say, okay, well, what if you tweak it and talk to this, like, what if you tweak it and instead we want to talk to people in the Midwest where it's really dry this time of year, or instead, like you can continue to massage it as you go. So just kind of have those conversations. Don't just take what's being fed to you and be like, okay, well, that was crap, or that was great, copy paste. Like both are bad. Continue to have that conversation, and then you'll get better with your prompts. There's some tools like Content at Scale that we've been using for long form content. What we love about it is we can say, hey, I feed it my podcast and say, I want you to write I think we did this with the podcast you were on with mine. I should share that with you, but write a blog post that is calling out these particular elements of this podcast. We want this blog post to focus on this. We want it to focus on this article. You can also add in other resources and things like that. And AI will generate then based off of that and pull out all of the keywords and the things that you've got that are already existing in the content you've created. So I think it's important to your point, and what you're getting at is it's not just about generating content and pushing it out there. AI can help us do that. But what's the purpose behind why we're creating that content so that we can connect with people still in a personal way, even though we're saving time by not having to write everything from scratch?
Yeah, I like what you said there around using it to pull a summary out of a piece of long form or key points, right? And that way you're that's a time leverage that is awesome for an agency owner, for a business owner, be able to say, hey, go grab these key points and make that the crux of this piece. So that's cool. It's a nice innovation.
Well, and one thing to kind of piggyback off that is even if you don't have your own audio content, we love a tool called Otter.ai. I'm sure you've probably used it before. It's been around for a long time. I think even before AI was AI. But what it does is it transcribes whatever. So we use it to transcribe our podcast episodes so that we can write our show notes, because it also gives you an outline. It gives you a summary and timestamps and lets you see kind of where things are happening. But let's say you're, to go back to, you're doing a promotion, you're doing a launch, and maybe you're interviewing some of your customers to find out what types of things, what do they like about your product or service? What don't they like? You could also you could do those calls, those customer inquiry calls on something like Zoom, record it, pop that video into Otter.ai. It's going to give you all the transcripts, but it's going to automatically generate some summary points and outlines. So it just saves you so much time to go back through them to say, okay, we want to call out this point, or we want to call out this point. And you don't have to read and comb through it all or remember or write down everything. You can just be engaged in the meeting and the conversation you're having, knowing that you're going to have everything at your fingertips once it's done.
Yeah, I agree. And Otter is an amazing tool for that. And it kind of give you even action items on when to follow up and what you committed to. So it's super powerful tool, which is it's valuable for sure. Okay, so you're using chat to generate some high level content, and then you've got some video software that you're using.
Yeah, we're playing with video software right now. There's a lot of that's out there. I don't have any softwares that I'm loving right now that I would want to throw out there. A lot of them are new, but there's some, and I'll send you some links maybe because we're in active testing right now. But there's a couple different AI softwares to look at. So if your business
wait, let's talk about your criteria first. So what are you using to assess them?
Well, a lot of things: price, ease of use, and benefits and features. Like, what is it that you need it to do? And so I think that's something that's really critical. So like if you're, for example, like if you're working on a sales campaign where you're going to do a bunch of cold outreach and you want to be able to send a bunch of videos to people, right? There's AI tools out there where you can record your standard video. So I could be like, hey, Emanuel, or I would say, hey there, so glad that I have an opportunity to chat with you today. I wanted to share a little bit with you about who we are, what we do, give you like a little rundown, whatever. Now the AI software records that video. Then you go in separately and you record, hey, Emanuel, hey, George, hey, Cindy, hey, Bob. And then it merges that with the video, right? So now you get a video that looks personal, but I only spent one time recording the video and maybe 5 minutes recording all of the hey first names, right? So it's stuff that you can do. But if you're doing that often, then that's a great tool to use. We also have a video platform that we're working on but we're testing right now that's about clipping your video content and helping you search through your video content. So you load all of your video content into the software. And now if you need to repurpose or find something to share on social media, like let's say I need a clip about email marketing, I can now search all my videos to say, okay, when is email, this term showing up? And it will pull out a bunch of clips for me that I can then take to another software to edit and make a video and send it out. So there's lots of cool things happening in video in that way. I just personally don't have a tool that I'm like loving right now. So I'll keep you posted.
Well, no, that's good. I think what I agree with 100% is when you're specifying of software for a particular function that you have to be clear about what you want it to do, and then make your assessment based on that, and then your search based on that, versus I just want to see what they can do with video, because you will get the phone book right now.
Right.
Tools, right?
Well, and that's when all of a sudden you look at your credit card statement and you're paying for like 20 different subscriptions, and you're like, how did this happen? Like, what happened here? Oh, this one was only $9.99 a month, and that one was only $10.99, no big deal. And it's out of control real fast.
Yeah, for sure. Especially those 7-day trials that get auto billed.
They get you. But I think it's like every tool you look at now is going to show up. They're going to have an AI functionality. So I think it's just paying attention to what you need and not getting bogged down. So like ClickUp is my favorite project management tool. I'm obsessed. They now have AI in there that can help you write. But also what's cool is they have AI in there that will help summarize your thread. So if you're in a project in ClickUp and there's a whole bunch of conversation happening on the side, like their AI tool will help just pull out, okay, here are the key components that are the key threads that are coming through that you need to pay attention to. So, I mean, I don't think there's a software platform that you're using right now that doesn't have an AI component.
No, I think that's true, or it's at least, at the very least, it's some functionality they had before that they're going to call AI while they got a bigger roadmap of integrating everything. So I guess, are you actually at this point saving time and money by using some of these AI tools?
Yeah, so I would say for sure. So I have two brands that kind of work in tandem with each other, one that focuses on my one-on-one consulting and one that focuses on my kind of digital products and templates and things of that nature. So it's definitely saving us time and content creation on that side, because we have long form content on both that launches every week. So now we have our podcast that we record weekly that goes into content at scale, and they write me, my average post there is about 2,700 words, which would take me hours. So now we're cross-referencing and we're putting both of those together, and now my blog post can take me an hour versus multiple hours. So I think for sure, yes. But if that's not part of your content plan, then no, it's not saving you money and it's not saving you time, right? So it all has to go back to what are the goals and what are you trying to achieve? I would say for a lot of my clients that aren't marketers or are newer marketers or who are struggling, really just giving them that permission to take their content and use AI to generate social media has helped them be more consistent, because now they have a place to go from. Because I think a lot of times it's that blinking cursor where you're just like, I'm paralyzed by like, how do I start and what do I say? So I do think AI is very helpful in that if you're not a natural marketer, to be able to take your content and kind of be able to get started with it somewhere. So that repurposing piece is really what we've been focusing on, just so that things don't get haywire too fast.
No, I think I agree with you about how people who are not marketers can use it. And that's one of the ways that I recommend is like, build me a content calendar for the next 12 months about health and fitness for my gym, right? Then you got this big picture, and you're like, build me some keywords for month one, and then now you got something to start with at least. And then most people obviously who are small business owners have got the expertise then to go and start at least writing the worst stuff ever, which is fine, right? We need something to start with to build the voice, and then let the generative part of Claude or Chat or Bard or whatever service you're using generate some bigger pieces.
Yeah. And I would say pick one or two tools and get good at it, because they all have their own little nuances. So it doesn't have to be what everybody else is using. There's some that are definitely better than others. And you'll notice that pretty quickly. But once you get used to how that platform works, the prompts that you need to use and the questions you can ask and all of that stuff, the better it'll get. You don't need to be a master of all of the platforms.
I agree. And don't try to be exhaustive in the research in any one tool category, because while we've been talking for the last 20 minutes, there's 50 new marketing AI softwares in every one of the categories.
Well, MarTech in general is massive, let alone AI. I mean, like you'll be in big time trouble. So I think it's just important to remember that it's an asset in your toolbox. It's not the answer to your marketing solutions. Like
Well,
it's not, yeah.
agree. Well, talk a little bit about what your ideal client profile is. What kind of clients are you looking for right now?
I get this question all the time, and we typically work with small to medium-sized organizations. So those that don't maybe have a dedicated marketing person on their staff, or they have somebody who is, kind of helping out with stuff, but not a strategic partner or not a strategic marketer. But what I would say, and I think you might agree, is really I care more about working with organizations that are ready to do the work, that are open and can take conversations like AI and say, okay, this is totally not in my wheelhouse. I don't necessarily understand this, but I understand the value that it can provide. And so like, let's have a conversation about how can we do things differently? How can we create content? So for me, it's more about the people that have the right mindset and are actually willing to do digital marketing. Because for a lot of people, it's a big stretch. And it's changing so fast. And so it's hard to know if the strategies we're doing right now are going to work in a year or work in 6 months. So you kind of have to have the right mindset around it to be able to test, play, and have fun with it.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, I mean, how long have you had your agencies? How long have you been doing this consulting?
Since 2017.
Yeah, so you've been around, you've had enough bad clients that you had to fire and enough good clients that have been with you. You're like, I really just care about the people, and we'll be able
Yep.
to figure out the marketing.
Exactly. Well, it's the people, it's the passion for what they're doing. We work with a lot of socially conscious companies, but it's really just that mindset around it. That mindset. And you'd be surprised. There's some young people that we've worked with that you would think would be the tech people ready to go, and they're just as stuck as some of the clients we've had that are more open to tech that shouldn't be. So it's fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Tell me a little bit more about your podcast and what kind of messaging you have on that.
Yeah. Well, so it's digital marketing therapy because we know that people struggle with jumping into digital marketing. It's largely geared towards nonprofit organizations. So we talk a lot about how to use digital strategies to fundraise, donor retention, but it's really related to how can you just create those customer experiences online that are in line with your brand and your voice and who you want to be as a brand. And how can you get more of the right people and then keep them? Because the customer retention and donor retention piece is really, I think, the most critical, especially when you're in kind of uneasy economic times, like we have been in our still. So we really work with user experience in and making personal, building community and building personalization, even with automations and digital tactics.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially I mean, for all organizations, but especially for nonprofits,
Mm-hmm.
staying connected. And I think that heart-centered connection is critical, and uber personalization, and communicating with those A-list donors in ways that they want to be communicated with,
Yeah.
and getting them recognized or not recognized based on what they want also. But it's more of a heart connection, because you're usually involved in a nonprofit because of some emotional activity versus
Yes. But I will say, and I think you would agree with this in a lot of the work that you do with Gen Z, is that it doesn't matter who you are. We all have to be heart-centered in order to connect with consumers and stand out. It's not just enough to talk about why your sneaker is the best sneaker. It's like, well, what's the personal story behind the sneaker? There's a reason why Michael Jordan's shoe is still like the number, I don't know if it is, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's still popular. It's not because it's the best shoe on the planet. There's story and there's connection and there's emotion behind it. And so I think no matter what, that is becoming more and more prevalent in how our marketing is being put out there.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is a point of differentiation, right?
Mm-hmm.
That as small and medium-sized business owners, we have a relationship and a connection with our clients at some level that way different than you're ever going to get at Walmart or at or even at Nike, right? So,
Right. Yep.
no, good point. Well, what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, Sami?
Yeah, so you can check out our podcast. You can either search Digital Marketing Therapy wherever you stream. We're also on YouTube, or you can check out all of our stuff at thefirstclick.net. We are most active on LinkedIn, or I'm most active on LinkedIn, but you can find all of that on our website. That's usually the best place to start.
All right, and all that information will be in the show notes. And I really appreciate you taking the time to break down how you're using AI in an authentic, brand real way as the tool that it should be, not as the tool that you think it has to be. So thank you very much for your time, Sam. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.